Hey guys, welcome back to your Human and You. Also, I'm guessing some people are getting pissed off of my reaction style for this fic. Don't really care. I'm doing it the way I'm happy with it, because right now I'm just doing the reactions and not having it to edit it out. I am super happy with this. Anyways, last time, Max met up with his guards at Nightlight, and then Discord was apparently giant sized, I guess, and Max was like, what? Anyways, let's hop right into it. Chapter 63. Not a fan of Puppeteers. I understand that. I've got to be dreaming, I breathed, as I stared up at the gargantuan figure of Discord. There was no way in hell that was real. My eyes had to be playing tricks on me. I was delusional, and due to some sleep deprivation, Primrose had sucked out too much of my blood, and I was now passed out and having a weird-ass nightmare. An explanation would do, except for one that expected me to believe that the Odrith abomination before me was real. Wait. Any explanation would do, except for the one that expected me to believe that the Eldritch abomination before me was real. Okay, so you're just shocked and don't believe it. Yet there he was, looming over the palace like a death cloud. Twilight and the others managed to take that down, I said weakly. There's no way. How the... Beside me, one of the guards, an earth pony mare, stared up at this colossal figure as well, her mouth agape. Sweet Celestia. The other ponies were much more animated, nickering and whining in a panic. This skirt's out again. Again? Why? And why is he so bucking huge? Colonel, what do we do? I don't know. Of course he'd show up. Of course he'd show up now, of all times. No princesses, no elements, the guard's in shambles. What the buck can stop him? That's great. This is really bucking great now. Great, man. Now what the buck are we supposed to do? We're in some pretty deep shit, man. Private, shut up! Sir, I recommend moving the injured further into the palace. Try and put some distance between us and him. That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over. What the buck are we supposed to do now? How? What are we gonna do? Private, shut the buck up! Sir, we need to silence! Yeah, Private's freaking pissing me off too. Nightlight roared suddenly, snapping me out of my daze and causing me to jump. All ponies fell silent, staring at him with wide eyes. He snorted, glaring at everyone, even as blood dripped from the stained bandage around his neck. Alright, every pony's going to remain calm. Got it? He paused, allowing the gathered ponies to nod before continuing. Yes, Discord appears to have escaped again. Yes, he's currently out of hooves, but we aren't going to panic. He doesn't appear to have noticed us yet, so we still have time. The first thing is we need to get the injured into the medical ward. First thing we need to do is get them injured to the medical ward. They are our priority at the moment. We'll figure out a way to deal with Discord after that. A murmur rippled through the crowd, and determined looks appeared on several blood-stained faces. However, some ponies still seemed unconvinced of whatever Nightlight had said. Leaving the ponies to sort out whatever it was they were sorting out, I turned to look back at Discord, but paused upon catching sight of the equestrian humans. They were in horrible shape, many of them cowering down behind corners and in the shadows. They were staring up at Discord with looks of abject horror. Several of them even appeared close to passing out. Tremors racked their bodies, and they whimpered pitifully. The castle shook again, causing them to shrink back and huddle against each other in fear. Not all of them, though. A select few were different. Instead of Discord, they were watching me with calm, collected looks on their faces. Pyrostida was among them. Her eyes were boring into mine. The intensity with which they were staring at me was unnerving. It was almost like they were waiting for something. What? I asked uneasily. Alpha, fight? Yes? Pyrostida asked. It was more a statement than a question. Oh shit, you're gonna have to do it, Max. You're gonna have to do it. Come on. Me fight that thing? I asked, incredulously pointing at Discord through the broken windows. Are you crazy? There's no way I can fight him, let alone beat him. This isn't some Shadow of the Colossus bullshit. What? He's going to have some glowing symbol somewhere on his body. I have to stab a bunch before he kneels over and dies. Not happening. Not going to. Alpha. Happen. It'll be like an ant fighting a boot. A pitcher fighting a stone. And you know what they say about the stone and the pitcher. Whether the stone hits the pitcher or the pitcher hits the stone, it's going to be bad for the Alpha. Pitcher. What? Alpha, fight. Despite how softly she said it, the words had some other emotion behind them, one that I couldn't place. Pride, determination, hope. I wasn't sure. She could just continue to calmly stare at me. Despite the hellish landscape displayed through the broken windows, this girl was now bent over some part of the palace and appeared to be tearing bits of masonry free and flinging them back over his shoulder without a care in the world. He was effortlessly disassembling Canterlot Castle like it was a Lego set, piece by piece. There was no way in hell that anyone could. Alpha. I jumped as a soft hand suddenly touched my face. My eye darted away from Discord, only to suddenly find itself lost in a sea of sapphire blue as Pyrostide's eyes filled my vision. Alpha, calm. she said, keeping her hand on my cheek. It was then that I noticed I was breathing heavily, my heart pounding wildly in my chest. Lifting a trembling hand up, I placed it on top of hers before taking a deep, shaky breath. Why? I asked. Why do you want me to fight so badly? It what, Alpha? Do? Yes, protect ponies, protect pack. But just look at him. I tried to turn my head back to look at Discord, but was stopped by Piracy keeping my head in place with her hand. You say protect ponies from human, not humans, she said. You protect them, yes? Protect ponies, protect pack. You Alpha, then fight, Alpha, fight. God damn, this realization in Max's fucking face. And how do you just suggest we get to him? I breathed. Pack help, she said, removing her hand and taking a step back. Pack, get you there safe. I gave her a confused look, and she motioned behind me, turning my eyes wide in surprise. Standing behind me with grim determination looks on their faces were several Christian humans, all of whom I recognized instantly. There was Tarzan and Jane, who stood alongside one of the other human males that had kidnapped me inside the garden, who was hereby named Kirk. Behind the three of them, hefting one of the Terran humans' makeshift hammers on his shoulder, was Sai, his lips pulled back in a silent sneer. Sighing, I turned back to Piracy. You guys are putting way too much faith in me. You know that, right? I don't even know how I can do against him. She remained quiet, giving me what could only be described as a pleading look. Fine, I huffed. Fine, I'll do it, damn you, and damn your sparkling eyes, but I'll do it. Damn, I probably said that too fast. I'm a little bit freaking cold, and this is gonna make me freaking cold. Oh, I can't wait for this. Piracy perked up. Fight? Yes, I sighed. You get me there, and I'll figure something out, I guess. As she chirped excitedly, I glanced around for my helmet. It was lying on the ground off to the side, and I moved to retrieve it. As I picked it up, Nightlight's approach. We're moving the injured to the medical wing, he signed. We might need your help in moving some of the fuck. God damn it. We're moving the injured into the medical wing, he sighed. We might need your help in moving some of them. Glancing over his shoulder, saw that the ponies were now making makeshift stretchers out of pieces of the doors. Okay, I'm getting excited, and I just want to finish this so bad. Sorry, no can do, I replied. We're going after Discord. What? He whined, his eyes widening. The ponies behind him stopped working, their heads whipping around to stare at him, hissing something under his breath. He glared up at me. Are you mad? You can't take Discord on by yourself. I won't be by myself, I signed before motioning at the humans behind me. Besides, we have to do something. No way. That's not happening, he said, his glare intensifying. For one, it's suicidal. For another thing, Twilight would never speak to me again if she found out I let you do something as stupid as this. Are you kidding me? Max has done some stupid shit. I grinned, giving him a lopsided smirk. Well, Twilight's not here right now, and I'm old enough to make my own decisions, Dad. Goddamn. I like how you just called him Dad. It's kind of beautiful. Okay. You. He grimaced, snorting in irritation. What's going on, Knight? A large unicorn called out. The idiot. The humans are planning on going up against Discord. Nightlight huffed, clicking his tongue. Several ponies nickered, their eyes widening in shock. Pushing the hoof against his temple, Nightlight snarled before glaring up at me again. I can't let you do that. As a colonel of Equestria's royal guard, it's my duty to make sure all civilians are safe, and I have the authority of the crown to do so. There's only 3 beings I'll potentially listen to. 2 humans and 1 pony. None of them are here at the moment. Wait. There's only 3 beings I'll potentially listen to. 2 humans and 1 pony. None of them are here at the moment. I'm guessing the 2 ponies are his parents. I can have you detained for your own safety. Okay, Nightlight. Yeah, nah, don't do that. Staring down at him, I threw my arms open wide and took a half step forward. We stayed that way for so long, 10 seconds, him glaring up at me waiting for him to do something. Finally, he averted his gaze. Son of a... Grinding his teeth together, he stomped a hoof on the ground, causing the marble beneath him to crack slightly. He paced back and forth a few times, looking remarkably like Twilight when she was trying to figure out a problem, before suddenly wheeling around. Terminal Earthen, he barked out, causing 2 of the guards to salute. Change of plans. I want you to grab 3 more able-bodied ponies and follow the anomaly. He is your primary. No... Your only concern, got it? Wait, what? Okay, this is Nightlight. Change of plans. Okay, Terminal Earthen. What the fuck? Change of plans. I want you two to grab 3 more able-bodied ponies and follow the anomaly. He is your primary, no, your only concern, got it? If something bad happens to them, then so help me. I'll have your cutie marks. Damn. If anything happens, like, he probably knows how much Twilight cares for him. Like, come on. They both nodded before the unicorn pointed at 3 other ponies. The 5 of them then moved towards me. I was wary at first, expecting them to jump me, but instead they took position around me. The 3 unicorns, 1 Pegasus, and an Earth pony. I hope you know what you're doing, boy. Nightlight's sign still glaring at me. Not a clue, I said, smiling down at him. His eyes narrowed and he huffed as he turned away. My human entourage eyed the new pony additions curiously, much to the guard's discomfort. My smile faded slightly as I watched Nightlight gathering up the wounded, and my brows furrowed. I had a nagging feeling that I was forgetting something important, but what was it? My eyes narrowed only to widen a second later when I remembered. Wait! I sang, causing Nightlight to glance back at me. The group of injured ponies we passed on our way here. This caused his eyes to widen as well. Turning, I pointed at a group of humans huddling in the corner. Can you guys take the pony to the room with injured ponies and the 3 humans, not humans, we met earlier? The only response I got was a whimper as they shrunk back further into the corner. Oh, come on, I shouted, throwing my hands in the air. You don't have to fight Discord or anything, in fact. You're going in the opposite direction. When they just continued to give me fearful looks, I said and rubbed my forehead. Okay, look, listen, just leave these ponies, I pointed at Nightlight, to the room with the injured ponies. After that, you can do whatever you want, okay? You can even go run and hide in the caverns for all I care. Just get these ponies to the room. At first, none of them moved, but then slowly, one by one, they began to crawl from the corner, casting furtive glances at Discord as they scuttled along. Furtive, I've never heard that word before. Shaking my head in exasperation, I turned back to Nightlight. These humans will take you there, but don't expect much more from them. He nodded, watching the humans as they raced down the hallway. Once they reached the corner, they hid behind it, heads peeking out as they waited for the ponies to follow. They charged other humans with wild abandonment, but pissed themselves at the sight of Discord. Wonderful. Okay, what? They charged other humans with wild abandonment, but pissed themselves at the sight of Discord. Wonderful. Okay, that's okay. So he's a little annoyed by it. Okay. Oh, also I added, be aware that there are 3 Terran humans in the room as well. And I stiffened, eyes narrating, but I continued quickly. They aren't hostile. In fact, they're trying to tend to the injured. Try not to be too rough with them. He was silent for a few seconds before saying loudly and nodding again. Turning to the other guards, he nickered. Alright, if that's it, let's get going. We have some more wounded to pick up along the way, and I want to get to the medical wards ASAP. I watched as the guards slowly made their way down the hall, carrying the wounded with them on their makeshift stretchers. It was a rather solemn sight, the less injured carrying those who bore severe wounds. Primrose and Ebony were on a stretcher together near the end of the procession. Reaching up, I absentmindedly rubbed the bandage that was hiding the bite mark on my neck. Everyone made... I was made to go with the guards, only to pause and glance back, giving me an inquisitive look. I slowly shook my head, and as she nodded once, reaching into her armor, she pulled out a hunting knife, which she handed to me before turning and following after the last of the retreating group. They rounded a corner, and with a minute or so, the clattering of their armor had faded into nothingness. I glanced down at the knife before slipping it carefully into a gap between my armor and the leather underneath it. Once it was secure, I turned and glanced at Piracy. Alright, I said, breathing in the silence. Let's get this over with. She worked up. Fight? Yup, fight. Lead the way. I said, placing my helmet over my head. With that, I motioned down the hall with an arm. She nodded before taking off her her scared and calloused feet, lightly tapping against the marble. As she flitted down the hall, after a brief pause, the other humans followed after her. Alright, you all heard the colonel, the lead unicorn said. As he glanced up at the other 4 guards I had stayed behind, form up on the anomaly. He's lead human. They saluted before moving to various positions around me. I eyed them briefly before grunting or running after Piracy. My armor clinked loudly as I moved, the noise mixing ominously with the bells still tolling in the distance. Our group, 5 equestrian humans, 5 equestrian ponies, and myself raced down the destroyed halls of the palace. So, Max, you are the odd number in that. We raced towards Discord, the source of all our problems, and the bells continued to toll. Twilight Sparkle's perspective. You can't tell me that it wasn't a little funny. Not now, Dash, Twilight growled. She raced down the hallway, followed closely by Applejack and Rarity. Pinkie Pie pronged along, leaving Fluttershy to bring up the rear. They all galloped down the hall, weaving around and through the rubble that had gathered in the corridor. Rainbow flitted by overhead, careful to steer clear of any of the broken windows. Oh, come on, she cooed, twisting around to smirk at Twilight as she moved backwards. You have to admit that you found it a little funny. Not now, Dash. I mean, seriously, Dash continued. The princesses charged us, and you got scared, and they teleported them outside into a fountain, and how can you not find that? Rainbow, Rarity interrupted, panting slightly as she ran. While I do certainly believe that we might all look back at the moment and laugh later, let's focus on the more pressing concerns, shall we? Yeah, Applejack huffed. Like, what the hay's going on with the princesses? They looked like something out of a nightmare. Oh, maybe it was a nightmare night costume, a really spooky, realistic one. Pinkie chirped as she bounced along. Like maybe Luna's getting an early start on this year's. Thank you, Pinkie, Twilight said, cutting off, but I highly doubt that was an But I highly doubt that was an intentional transformation on their part, or if there was, something went horribly wrong, and I wasn't scared. Wait. Okay, so I'm guessing Rainbow just interrupts her. Or if there was, something went horribly wrong, and I wasn't scared. She scoffed, giving Rainbow a dirty look. I was just startled is all. They caught me by surprise. I meant to teleport them away like that. Uh-huh, Rainbow smirked. Come on, Twi, you were just as confused as the rest of us when they disappeared. Admit it, you were scared. I wasn't scared. Was too. Was not. Was too. Was not. Twilight, I don't get why you're bickering like that. I don't get why why are you guys bickering? This is really bad. Is this really the best time for this? Rarity snapped, glaring at the two. Both Princess Celestia and Luna have been turned into those horrific abominations, and here you two are arguing if you were scared or not. I mean, really. Both Twilight and Rainbow's ears played back, and they glanced away from each other. That's what I thought, Rarity continued with a sniff. Now, if you two could quit bickering long enough for us to... The castle took that exact moment to suddenly shift violently, causing everyone to stumble as the floor beneath their hooves shook. Rarity nearly face-planted, grabbing Applejack's neck at the last moment in order to save herself, and coincidentally cutting off Applejack's air supply. The cow pony grunted, her eyes crossing as her face slowly turned a lovely shade of blue. The marble beneath other hooves cracked as a deep groan reverberated through the corridor. Bits of ceiling rained down, and several nearby paintings and tapestries fell from their hooks. Slowly the tremors died, allowing the ponies to regain their footing. What are you trying to do? Kill me? Applejack wheezed as Rarity released her neck. Sorry, darling, Rarity frowned, stepping around a pile of dust and debris. It was not intentional, I assure you. Whee! Do it again! Do it again! Pinkie cheered, still laying on her back. She kicked her legs in the air and giggled. The whole castle felt like some pony hooked it up to one of Mrs. Cake's toys. The ones that Pumpkin and Pound aren't allowed to play with. What was that? Fluttershy whimpered as she slowly got to her hooves. I don't know, Twilight said, slowly staring down at the cracked floor with a worried look on her face, but something tells me we should probably keep moving. The sooner we reach the elements of harmony, the sooner we can start Luna and Princess Celestia out. The sooner we can work out on fixing this entire mess. Pinkie pouted as she rolled upright. Pinkie's always for some little chaos here and there. And you're sure that the elements will change the princess's back? Rarity asked as it began to run again. Twilight remained silent, chewing on her bottom lip as she ran. Her eyes darted back and forth, and her brow furrowed as her thoughts raced. Eventually, she said before answering, No, I'm not sure, but at the moment, they're our best bet for fixing whatever's going on. They haven't let us down before. Yeah, right, Rainbow sneered, rolling in her eyes, because they were so helpful when we used them on the big guy. They did their job, Rainbow, Twilight said tensely. I might not have liked the outcome, but they did what they were supposed to do. They removed the chaos magic from Max. That's fine and all, but can we even get to them? Applejack asked. Last I checked, didn't the princess have spells on the element's door to stop ponies getting in? How are we supposed to get past them? Okay, fuck. Applejack, how the fuck would you know that? That's like a question. How does AJ know that? Twilight would know, because she's technically the main magic source for them, to be honest. They're all... Okay. There are defensive spells, yes, Twilight said with a nod. However, Princess Celestia taught me the required counter spells the week after I became a princess, just in case we ever had to use them, and she wasn't around. I just never thought that such a situation would happen. She finished, her ears playing back. Well, thank goodness for that, Pinkie cried. If they hadn't, Twilight wouldn't be able to get the elements, meaning we wouldn't be able to use them, and then we'd be in big trouble. Yeah, big trouble, Twilight murmured. She glanced sideways out the windows that were rushing by. A troubled look crossing her face. Movement from one of the lower building's windows caught her eye, and she slowed her pace. A human flitted down the hallway of the other building, Twilight only able to catch glances of her. As she passed in front of the window, she was running in the opposite direction, a look of fear clear on her face. Even from the distance, the human glanced over her shoulder once before putting on a burst of speed and becoming lost to view. Twilight watched her disappear, a small frown quizzing her muzzle. Twilight, watch out! Huh? Glancing around, Twilight glanced as she about ran face first into a fallen pillar. Scrambling sideways, she almost toppled over, only being stopped at the last minute by Applejack nudging her with her shoulder. Regaining her footing, she gave Applejack a wee smile. Thanks, Applejack. No problem, Sugar Cube. Applejack smirked before she took on a concerned look. Are you okay? You seem a little out of it at the moment. Yeah, Twilight sighed. I'm just worried about Max is all. We don't know where he is. All this horrible stuff is happening, and well, I just hope that where he is right now, he's alright. Yeah, he's gonna go face Discord. I'm not sure if that's okay, but okay. I'm sure he's fine, darling, Rarity said, giving Twilight a small smile. I wouldn't worry about him too much. He can take care of himself after all. Yeah, the big guy's fine, Rainbow chirped, flying by overhead. He can handle the crazy stuff that's happening. I mean, he's faced down manticores, timberwolves, and even an infected human. Hey, he even fought and won 5 rounds in a human fighting ring. Twilight's ears splayed back, and her eyes widening in alarm. Yeah, you probably should. Yeah. The last one, though, that still bothers Twilight. It's kind of sad that it still does that, but... Rarity wins. You probably shouldn't have mentioned that last one, Rainbow. Yeah, Applejack agreed uneasily. He was in pretty bad shape after that one. Let's stop talking about it, okay? Twilight said surely, one of her ears switching. Let's just get the elements, fix Celestia and Luna so they can fix the bigger problem so I can get back to looking for... A massive lion's paw smashed through the wall in front of the mare, causing dust and debris to rain down upon them and causing all of them to scream. A deep groan echoed through the halls, the floor beneath their hooves vibrating as the paw grasped the edges of the new hole. With a loud crack, it tore off a large section of the wall with a very little effort. A red eye filled the hole, glancing around before zeroing in on the mares. A pupil shrunk before a deep chuckle came from outside. I spy with my little eye an apple, a diamond, and a loony pie. Discord! Twilight shouted, wings flaring. The eye disappeared, and the mares barely had enough time to move before another hole was torn into the wall, this time by a massive eagle's talon. I spy with my eyeball a rainbow, a moth, and a know-it-all. Discord continued with a merciless chuckle. Oh, I know, Pinky cried as she dodged falling debris. Applejack's the apple, Applejack's the apple, right? Right? Ignoring her, Discord tore off another chunk of the building, throwing it over his shoulder without a care in the world. It crashed into one of the lower buildings, destroying the roof and causing parts of the building to collapse. I really want this to just get over with real quick. Sorry if I'm not sure if I'm going to go too fast or what's going to happen, but you know. Discord! Twilight shouted again, drawing Connick's attention. Princess Sparkle, it's been too long, he purred, a large smirk exploding across his face. You never visited me in the gardens. What kind of princess of friendship are you? Even your human paid me a couple visits from time to time. Enough! Twilight snorted, stomping her hoof. I should have known you were behind this. It reeks of your doing. Why? Discord chuckled. Whatever are you talking about, princess? That is the question here. That's the question I want answered. Is Discord causing this or not? Or did you just escape? Don't you dare play dumb with us, Discord, Applejack snorted, her nostrils flaring wide. She glared up at the Draconicus. We know you're the one behind all of this. Rainbow Dash nodded, flying over to her beside Applejack. Yeah, this has got your cloven hoof prints all over it. Fine, you caught me red-handed, Discord sneered, raising up his paw, which had turned a dark crimson color. As he did so, his tail wrapped around a tree, only to uproot it a second later, lifting it to his mouth. He took a bite out of it as though the leaves were made out of cotton candy. But you can't really blame me for this, he said, around a mouthful of cotton tree candy. It's really not my fault. After all, I didn't pull the trigger. I simply provided the gun, and you ponies supplied the ammunition. Shut it, Twilight growled. Release Princess Celestia and Luna from whatever spell you have them under this instant. Discord tossed the remaining tree over his shoulder before cocking his head to the side, bringing a claw up to his chin. How about no, he hummed before suddenly bringing his paw crashing down upon them. Twilight's horn flared, and the 6 of them blinked out of existence. A second before Discord's paw had a chance to flatten them, they appeared several meters down the hall in an explosion of light. Ho ho, what's this? It appears the game is afoot, Discord gasped suddenly. A weird red plaid hat adorned his head, a large ear flaps covering the sides of his face, pulling a large curved wooden horn out from under his arm. He placed it to his lips and blew a loud series of notes before shouting, Tally-ho, chaps, release the hounds! The sound of baying came from down the hall, and after a few seconds, a trio of bloodhounds with Discord's face came scampering around the corner. Run, Twilight shouted, and here I thought he couldn't get any more hideous, Rarity gasped, staring at the Discord bloodhounds in horror before turning and hurrying down the hall with the others. Twilight, which way? Rainbow cried as they neared a split in the corridor. I'm hoping they, get it face into Max, because Max is heading their way and all this nonsense. Right, Twilight panted, bringing up the rear. Take a right and up the stairs. Ugh! She yelped as one of the dishounds grabbed her at her tail, pulling out a clump of her hair in the process. Cocking a hind leg back, she bucked the dog and She bucked the dog. Oh, damn it. She bucked the dog in the head, causing it to tumble backwards with whine. Nark, nark, the other dog creatures barked as they continued to chase. Twilight's eye twitched. I'm not a nark. Yipping happily, one of the dishounds leapt forward and sunk his teeth into her back leg, letting out a scream of pain. Twilight lit up her horn and, craning her head around, blasted the dog in its face. It flew backwards with a squeal before exploding into a cloud of smoke. Standing awkwardly on 3 legs with the injured one held in the air, Twilight turned and hit the other 2 dogs with the same spell, causing them to explode as well. I'm hoping you run into Max, because if he sees you injured, it's gonna put a whole lot of rage behind him. Twilight, Fluttershy cried, her eyes widening. I'm fine, Twilight huffed, even as blood streamed down her leg and dripped to the floor below. I'm fine, it's just a scratch. She tried to put weight on it, only to grimace, the legs shaking horribly. Oh, ho! What have we here? A large chunk of wall fell away. Revealing the grinning face of Discord, he smirked down at Twilight, his red eyes glowing with perverted mirth. Well, the antlers won't fetch me much, but the wings look like they could be used to stuff a couple of pillows, and the bust will look so nice mounted above my fireplace. But I want to kill you so bad, Discord. As he reached for her, Twilight flapped her wings and took to the air, barely avoiding being snatched up by the giant paw. Oh, a feisty one, Discord sneered. I like feisty ones. They make the best jerky. I'll give you some jerky, Rainbow growled, flying forward. Before she could get far, Rosie Barrier sprang to life in front of her, blocking her path. No, Twilight shouted, half limping, half flying down the hall. Don't try and fight him, just run. Rainbow shot Discord one last glare with a growl. She reluctantly turned and followed quickly after her friends. That's right, keep running, Discord called after them. It won't do you any good, though. Nobody can escape the hunt. Okay, so this happened after season 3, which I'm guessing Discord was still like on and off with the whole friendship nonsense. Okay, there's Fluttershy. Why are you doing this? Fluttershy cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. I thought we were friends. Friends? Discord asked, staring out another section of wall as the ponies ran past. Don't make me laugh. We were never friends, you naive little strumpet. But the tea parties and the it's called acting, Yellow. Quiet. Discord cackled. The naivety of you ponies never ceased to amaze me. I wanted to be free, and the only way to accomplish that was to convince everyone that I was reformed. I can't believe you all never realized it was all a ruse, especially you, Twilight Narkle. I'm not a narc. So all the time we spent together, everything we shared, it meant nothing to you? Fluttershy mewed, glancing over her shoulder as she ran. Discord pulled several parts of the Discord, you son of a bitch. Discord pulled several parts of the roof off. Damn it, Twilight's emotions getting to me. Discord pulled several parts of the roof before pausing, his smile fading slightly. He adopted a thoughtful look. I'll tell you what. You let me squish you, and then I'll let you know if I feel sad about it, okay? Ripping up another tree, he placed it lengthwise down the hall and gave it a huge push, sending it rocketing down the hall towards the retreating ponies. Twilight's eyes widened as the tree trunk raced towards them like a speeding train, and her horn flared with magic. There was a loud crack, and the 6 mares disappeared just as the large wooden missile reached them. They reappeared in an explosion of light, each yelping in surprise as they tumbled across the floor of the elements room. I think we left my stomach behind, Abject groaned weakly. Wee, let's go again, Pinky giggled, her eyes rolling about her head. Okay, yeah, that was great and all, Rainbow grunted, pulling herself out from underneath Rarity and Fluttershy. But why didn't we just teleport to here in the first place? Because, Twilight panicked, gasping for air. It takes a lot of magic. I had to disable all the security spells to teleport all of us in, and then activate all the spells again. They won't keep Discord out for long, but hopefully long enough. Getting shakily to her hooves, she limped along the 3 hooves towards the ornate chest sitting atop a small... Damn it! Fucking Christ, I'm getting shaky here. Getting shakily to her hooves, she limped along on 3 hooves towards the ornate chest sitting atop a small pedestal. Oh, fuck me. Twilight, your leg, Fluttershy murmured as she got to her hooves. We can deal with it later, Twilight grunted, wincing in pain. We have to take care of Discord first. Supporting herself with a pedestal, she opened the chest lid, revealing the elements of harmony. Upon seeing the glittering jewelry, Twilight breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, thanks, Equestria, they're still here. Putting the element of magic out and placing it upon her head, she did the same with other elements, tossing them to the respective owners. Quick, put them on before Discord. The room rocked back and forth, causing Twilight to fall off the pedestal and onto her back. Luckily, everyone was able to put their elements on before the 2 tumbled to the floor. The room shook again before, with a loud grinding crack, the ceiling was ripped away like the roof being removed from a dollhouse. The hellish sky above was revealed, and as well as the grinning face of Discord. Well, this suddenly brings back memories, doesn't it? He asked, a large grin spreading across his muzzle. Girls, now! Twilight shouted as she staggered to her hooves. The gem in her crown began to glow, and she was quickly left into the air. Around her, the element bearers followed suit, their necklaces pulsing with power. Their crackle of electricity filled the air, and stray bolts of lightning danced around the room. Light began to leak from the elements, consolidating into a single point just above all their heads. In one final burst, the energy flew to Twilight's horn before an explosion of color erupted, facing a hurricane of power. The rainbow beam flew through the air, heading straight for Discord. It bore down on him like a thunderbolt, only to pass through the empty space where his head used to be. What? Twilight gasped before dropping to the ground. She collapsed with a... God, I can't even say with a whiny as her injured leg gave out. You didn't really think that would work, did you? Discord chuckled, his voice echoing around the room. A telegraphed attack like that? Please, anyone can see it coming a mile away. It worked on you once, Rainbow shouted, stopping her hoof. Indeed it did. I will give you that, Discord hummed. However, that was mostly due to me underestimating you 6 pains in the neck. That my little ponies won't happen again. Oh, fuck you, Discord. God damn it. What do we do now? Applejack asked. She glanced around nervously, her ears playing back. Get to the rooftop, Twilight groaned as Rarity and Fluttershy helped her up, supporting her between them. It'll give us more room to aim. And if he dodges again, Rainbow asked, then we keep blasting him until we hit, Twilight growled, unless you have a better idea. Rainbow puffed out her cheeks and glanced away, but didn't say anything. That's what I thought, Twilight panted. Now everybody hold on. Rarity, Fluttershy, you might have to help me stand after this. Her horn began to glow, and before anyone could protest her use of magic, the elements room disappeared in a flash of light. They reappeared on top of the palace's rooftops, their hooves clacking against the shingles as they tried to find purchase. Well, wind pulled at their manes and coats, and Applejack had to grab onto her hat to stop it from blowing away. Damn, Rainbow breathed, glancing wide-eyed around at the chaotic landscape around her. This isn't like last time, Pika murmured, her hair losing its poofiness. Where's the cotton candy clouds? Where's the chocolate milk? A shiver ran down her spine as a low, keening wail echoed around the castle, followed by another, then another. This isn't fun anymore. Twilight sagged suddenly, blood dribbling from her nostrils as she gasped in pain. Twilight, Rarity shrieked. Fine, she slurred, even as the blood stained her lips. Just used too much magic. I'm fine. Where's Discord? There he is, Applejack said, pointing with the hoof. The Draconicus was no longer focused on them. He was crouched over one of the lower buildings, his attention drawn towards something else. Twilight could faintly see spellfire flying through the air, only to wash over Discord with no visible effect. Now's our chance, she wheezed. While he's distracted, let's do this. I really want this battle to be over. Right, all her friends said at the same time, nodding their heads in unison. They moved to stand around her, Rarity and Fluttershy still supporting her weight. Damn. You guys, God bless it, man. As their familiar warmth began to slowly spread throughout her chest, a weak smile touched Twilight's lips. She gave a sigh of relief as she was slowly lifted into the air, taking the weight off of her injured leg. It still hurt, a dull throb pulsing from the bite wound, but she was able to ignore it. Around her, her friends floated as well, the gems in their necklaces taking on a faint glow that gradually increased in intensity. The light around the gems began to change color, each one taking on the familiar tone of the respective bearer. Orange, pink, red, blue, purple. The color light danced around the floating ponies, consolidating together around Twilight's crown. Discord remained oblivious to what was happening behind him, still crouched over the half-distorted structure. The element of magic flashed white, and Twilight felt the gathered energy flow through her, warming her body and easing her pain. A ball of swirling rainbows gathered around the bearers as well. As all their eyes began to glow, narrowing her eyes, Twilight aimed as best as she could, focusing on the colossal target in front of her. He was right there, right in front of them. Statistically, she shouldn't be able to miss. And I'm assuming you're gonna miss, Twilight. Just saying. Discord is focused on something else. I wonder what he's focused on. That is the question. Her eyes widened when Discord suddenly straightened up triumphantly, something clasped tight in his lion's paw. He cackled madly, waving the paw back and forth before bringing it in front of his face. He started to turn around, and Twilight panicked. Before Discord had a chance to notice him, she double-checked her aim one last time. Satisfied, she quickly felt the mental trigger in her mind, and with a little gasp, pulled it with all her might. A beam of rainbows exploded out of the center of the bearers as the elements of harmony fired. The surrounding area was bathed in a prismatic wave of light as the blast raced towards Discord. Twilight bit her lip, praying that he wouldn't notice until it was too late. Luckily, even as the rainbow raced towards him, Discord remained distracted by the object in his grasp, shaking it back and forth. He jeered loudly. Although Twilight couldn't understand him, as his words were lost in the roar of the elements, her brow furrowed, her eyes narrowing. What does he have? It isn't a pony, is it? Discord shifted, and she was suddenly able to see exactly what It was that he was holding her breath caught in her throat, and her eyes widened. She tried to cancel the elements of harmony, but was unable to. She could only watch in horror as the rainbow beam slammed into discord, consuming the Draconiquist in an explosion of light. As the world around them went white, Twilight let out a soul-rounding cry. No! Why did Discord have his in his hand? Because apparently he's a giant right now, and I don't like that he's a giant. Back to Max. As we traversed the halls, it soon became apparent that the architecture had taken a lot more damage than I originally thought. I wasn't sure if it was the constant shaking of the castle, the fighting, or whatever Discord was now doing, but getting through the halls was turning into something like an Olympic event. Fallen pillars, piles of rubble, collapsed arches littered the halls. It was a bloody obstacle course. It didn't help that I had my armor on as well. The bulky attire slowly slowing me down and preventing easy movement. And to make matters worse, I was still feeling the effects of Primrose's feeding. Clambering over another pile of debris, I paused and sagged against the cracked wall, trying to catch my breath. A bout of lightheadedness took me. The dizzying sensation caused me to wince as my stomach churned. The side of my neck throbbed gently, a constant reminder of the bite mark. As the room slowly stopped spinning, I felt something nudge my knee. Cracking open an eye, I glanced down through my helmet's porthole. One of the ponies, the male unicorn with white fur, was nudging me with his hoof, a concerned look on his face. "You okay, boy?" he nickered. "Come on, we have to keep going." You know, I still can't understand you," I panted. "Terminal," the Pegasus squawked, glancing over his shoulder. "We can't stay here. Get the anomaly moving." "I'm working on it," the unicorn yelled at her before turning his gaze back to me. His eyes softened and he waved a hoof at me, beckoning me along. Yeah, I'm coming," I grunted, pushing myself off the wall. "Off I'll come," Pirate Steve said from further down the hall. "Come fight." "I said I was coming," I yelled as I staggered forward, heading towards her and the other waiting members for my entourage. "Terminal, I don't see how the anomaly is supposed to handle Discord when he's clearly on his last leg." The Pegasus nickered as we set off again. She flew through the air beside me, shooting me a strange look before glancing back at Terminal. "Hey, I'm starting to recognize some of their weird-ass horse words," I realized, chuckling weakly to myself. I had no clue what it meant, but I was 50% sure it was the white unicorn's name. Okay, 35% sure, 20. Fuck it, I didn't know it was his name or not, but I had heard the same 3 clicks and a neigh every time a pony wanted to get his attention, so I had to be related to him in some way. "You would be tired too if you had too much blood taken from you," Terminal replied. The Pegasus clicked her tongue. "Maybe, but that still doesn't excuse the fact that he's practically half dead to the world." "It's fine, Stillwing," Terminal snorted. "I'm sure he has some kind of plan." Yeah, he has no plan. What does everybody think he has a plan? He never has a plan. He's just a Max. For a better lack of a word, he's just a Max. I paused briefly mid-step, my brow furrowing. Why do I suddenly feel like someone has unrealistically high expectations of me? "I hope so," Stillwing huffed before lowering her head and zooming off down the hall. As she scouted ahead, she disappeared around the corner, only for a loud squawk to echo back down the hall. "Buck!" "Stillwing!" Terminal whined loudly, his eyes widening in alarm. His pace increased, and he galloped off. The other ponies followed close behind him. The other ponies followed close behind me. The other humans and I brought up the rear. As we rounded the corner, the source of the Pegasus' distress was revealed. A tree had come crashing through the wall, causing the floor to collapse. Falling through several stories to where it now rested far below, this left a huge gap between us and the rest of the hallway, leaving nothing but empty space between us and a good 100-foot drop. "Where the buck did this come from?" Stillwing growled, glaring at the misplaced tree. Oddly enough, there appeared to be a larger bite taken out of it. God damn it. Fuck. Excuse me. Taken out of the tree's canopy. "I'll give you 3 guesses as to where." One of the unicorns nickered, leaning carefully out and glancing through the gaping hole in the building. Discord was visible, tearing apart a different building with an unabandoned glee. I paused, my eyes narrowing as something about Discord caught my attention. Is that a hunting cap?" I muttered in disbelief. The left pony mare gave me a confused look before shaking her head and starting. Forget the left pony mare gave me a confused look before shaking her head and snoring. "Forget about where it came from. How are we going to get across? It'll take too long to climb down the rubble and back up the other side." "I've got this," Stillwing huffed. Flying down, she looped her legs around the earth pony's body, causing her to yelp as she was lifted into the air. Stillwing carried her across the gap carefully before setting her down on the other side of the tree, the foliage hiding them from view. After a few seconds, Stillwing reappeared, heading back over to grab her next passengers. "This take too long," Sag growled, lifting his hammer onto his shoulder. He took several steps back before, with a running leap, he launched himself across the gap. He disappeared into the foliage, branches and leaves flying everywhere as he tore through the canopy. There was a brief pause before a loud yelp came from the other side. Where the buck did you come from?" Man. This is getting intense, and I don't like it. What the fuck was that? Stowing breeze, staring wide-eyed at the hole that side created leaves. That side created leaves. Kirk grunted softly before following after Sai, leaping across the hole with little effort. Jane glanced expectantly at me, and I shook my head. Don't look at me, I said. I can't make that jump. I'm not even going to try. She just blinked before her gaze drifted to something behind me. I didn't have any time to turn before something grabbed me and lifted me off my feet. Go, yes, I heard Tarzan ask. Yes, Jane chirped, nodding energetically. What? Wait, no, I shouted as he carried me bodily to the edge of the gap. I heard several other ponies nickering in alarm, but Tarzan ignored them. No, let's talk about this. There's gotta be another way across. I don't like where this is going. Ugh! I flailed helplessly as Tarzan heaved me across the hole and into the foliage of the tree. Leaves and branches smacked my helmet as I ripped through them, unable to see and unable to aim. I prayed that I would make it to the other side. Halfway through the branches, a particularly large one caught one of my chins, causing me to flip. I burst out of the leaves and landed hard on my back. My momentum caused me to roll across the floor until I crashed into a wall with a loud crack. The impact left me dazed, and I just laid there, staring up at the ceiling. After a few seconds, a pony head appeared above me. Are you okay, sir? Did anybody catch the number on that bus? I slurred, rolling about. I staggered shakily to my feet. Sai was standing off to the side, staring at me with a neutral look on his face, as was Kirk. The guard watched me for a few seconds before turning and calling back through the tree's foliage. Anomaly made it across. The sound of the affirmation came from the other side. The mare turned her attention back to me, only to yelp a second later as both Jane and Tarzan suddenly burst through the leaves, alighting softly on the marble. She glared at them before snorting and stalking off down the hall, grumbling to herself. Bucking humans, limping around like bucking lemurs and shit, scaring mares half to death ain't right. Ain't right. Shut up. I don't like it when you pick me up. I growled, shooting Tarzan a glare as I rubbed my now bruised shoulder. It's never fun. Alpha weak. Sai snorted. That's great. Tarzan gave me a confused look. Alpha across, yes? Alpha not a football, yes, I snarked. No more picking me up, and definitely no more throwing me around. Got it? He nodded, and I went back to rubbing my shoulder. The sound of flapping wings reached my ears, and I turned around. Stewing fluttered through the gap in the foliage, carrying Terminal with her. He looked pretty uncomfortable with the situation, his eyes darting nervously to the pile of rubble far below. He didn't relax until he had all four hooves on the ground. I'm so glad I'm not a Pegasus, he grunted. What's the matter, Lance? Not a cloud hopper? Stowing smirked. My parents were earth ponies, thank you, Terminal nickered. I enjoy having hoofs firmly on the ground. Getting real sick of this, I grumbled, looking back and forth between the two of them. What the fuck are you two saying? Terminal gave me a confused look before shaking his head and closing his eyes. It was only then that I noticed his horn was glowing softly, a look of concentration across his face. The light growing brighter until, with a crack, the other two unicorns appeared out of thin air. Turning to Tarzan, I hooked a thumb back on... Wait, what? Turning to Tarzan, I hooked a thumb back at the unicorn. See that? That's a lot easier than you tossing me about like a rag doll. He snorted, but said nothing. Alright, we're all across, Terminal snorted, cracking his neck. Now, where's Earthen? A shout came from further down the hall, and upon glancing around, I saw the Earth Pony peeking around from around the corner. Oi, Lance, she whined. The rest of, okay, so I've been saying that so wrong. I'm just gonna go, she whined. The rest of the hallway is mostly clear. We've got a clean shot to the stairs. Terminal nodded and started forward, the other ponies accompanying him. I guess we follow them, I murmured. Sai huffed before shaking off down the hall as well. Damn, son. I'm barely even halfway through this. Are you kidding me? What time? It's 43. Okay. Water break. Come on, I know like these pauses are a little bit distracting from time to time, but you guys are enjoying it, aren't you? Just saying. Reaching the stairs, I had just started up. Okay, reaching the stairs, I had just started up them, and with a loud nicker came from behind me. I glanced around, only to find the ponies were headed through the archway instead. Where do you think you're going? Terminal asked, giving me a confused look. He pointed a hoof through the archway. The courtyard is this way. You know, courtyard where Discord is? Well, I continued to stare at him blankly, growled, and shook his head. Really wish I had learned hoof language now. Hang on a second, let me try something. The earth pony neighed, stepping forward. She glanced up at me before signing. Where go? You know hoof language? Stowing snorted, raising an eyebrow. Not a lot, the earth pony replied. Only a few basic words, nothing more. I waited until she turned back to me before replying. Up, I signed before pointing towards the ceiling. This caused her to snort loudly and shake her head. She didn't need to translate for the others, the gesture being enough to get the message across, and the responses were the same as hers. Why in Tartarus is he going upstairs? Stowing grunted, fluttering her wings. There's nothing up there, some spare offices. It's not our place to question it, Terminal sighed. That light ordered us to protect the anomaly, nothing more. Stewing grunted but didn't say anything. Instead, she and the earth pony quickly climbed the steps, getting in front of me and the other humans. Stewing motioned for me to follow her. Yeah. Yeah. So one of them knows at least basic words. I really wonder how long Max really took to learn this freaking hoof language. It was probably a couple months. I shrugged before continuing up the stairs. The staircase turned halfway up, heading back into the other direction. The landing had several large stained glass windows adorning its walls, and I paused to glance out of one of them. Through the colored glass, I saw that there was a small drop to a roof below. As I was watching, Discord's tail whipped by outside. Hang on a second. This might work, I mused, eyes narrowing, ignoring the ponies climbing the second half of the stairs. I stepped towards the windows instead. I ran a hand over a particularly large piece of red glass, set aside with it. I pulled back and drove my gauntleted fist through the glass, shattering the window instantly. As the large shards of glass fell to the floor with a loud clatter, several yelps came from behind me. What the buck are you doing? Ignoring the ponies nickering behind me, I knocked a few remaining pieces of glass out of the frame before stepping through. The wind pushed against me as I stepped out onto the roof. Several shingles came loose under my weight, but I managed to stay standing. My human companion stepped through the broken window as well, their bare feet finding better purchase on the shingles than my boots. Are you fucking serious? What the buck is he doing? Stewing squawked as she peered through the broken window. Nightlight owes me a big for this term. Nightlight owes me big for this, Terminal grunted, pulling herself carefully through the window and onto the roof. Shut up. How about that? Stop complaining. And just stay there, I guess. I don't know. Parseid carefully walked up to me and pointed. Alpha, look! I see him, I muttered weakly. Discord was currently wrapped around a nearby tower. The roof was ripped off, and he had his head stuck inside the tower. As I watched, he quickly pulled his head back impossibly far just as a beam of rainbows flashed through the air. The elements of harmony, Terminal breathed as he moved to stand beside me, his eyes wide. You didn't really think that would work, did you? Discord suddenly chuckled, still hanging off the tower. A telegraphed attack like that? Please, anyone can see it coming a mile away. He paused, and near twitching before he continued. Indeed it did, I will give you that. However, that was mostly due to me underestimating you 6 pains in the neck. That, my little ponies, won't happen again. Yeah, come on, Max, come on. You 6, I muttered before my eyes widened. Twilight! Discord chuckled again, and his tail began to move, repositioning itself around the base of the tower. It began to constrict, the masonry beneath it crackling and crumbling, making the tower more and more unstable. Not caring that I could somehow understand what Discord was saying. Alright. Fuck. Well, fuck, Max, you just, oh, damn, you dumb fucking idiot. Okay, let me say it again. Discord chuckled again, and his tail began to move, repositioning itself around the base of the tower. It began to constrict, the masonry beneath it cracking and crumbling, making the tower more and more unstable. Not caring that I could somehow understand what Discord was saying, not caring that I didn't really have a plan, I stepped forward, raised my right hand, and snapped my fingers. Fire erupted around my hand, and pulling my arm back, I threw it at Discord with all my might. Discord, I howled as a large fireball sailed through the air. The prismatic flames taking on an eerie appearance beneath the blood-red moon high above. It slammed into the side of his head, the fire splashing across his face, singeing his fur. His grip on the tower slipped, and he fell backwards, arms flailing comically through the air. After a few seconds, he righted himself and glanced around in confusion. Then his gaze landed on me. You! The comedic bewilderment instantly left his face, replaced instead by a look of cold fury. Unraveling himself from the tower, he flared his mismatched wings before launching himself into the sky. Lance, Stewing, gulped. Her eyes were set wide as she watched Discord slither through the air towards us. I suddenly understood why the anomaly's guards failed their assignment. Yeah, you two... Shut up, you two freaking, like, substitute guards. I could suddenly understand why the Anomaly's guards failed their assignment. Yeah, he gets in trouble. He gets into a lot of bullshit trouble. Fuck you two. Yeah, I'm kind of figuring that as well. Terminal nickered. His horn began to glow, as did the other unicorns, and magic crackling down her length. Doesn't matter, though. We have a job to do. The ponies seemed nervous, and I couldn't really blame them. As Discord got nearer, I suddenly realized how big he was, and needless to say, I was beginning to have second thoughts. So, how much experience points... Max out here. So, how much experience points do you think this will get me? I asked Piracy, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. I had his intention, but I had no fucking clue how I was going to take him down. My plan so far consisted of the following the following. Step 1, shoot fireball. Step 2, get his attention. Step 3, questions. Step 3, who the fuck knows? And step 4, profit. She gave me a confused look before chirping, Alpha, fight. Yes, but how? Alpha strong, can be. Yes, but how? I growled. Figure it out, Max. Like, no one's gonna have the answers for you. You're just the leader of the pack now. She blinked once before opening her mouth, but it was too late. A pair of mismatched paws smashed down on either side of us, destroying the roof and sending shingles raining to the ground far below. The impact nearly caused me to topple over as the roof shook beneath me. As I struggled to remain upright, the ponies had it a lot worse with their hooves. Okay, what? A pair of mismatched paws smashed down on either side of us, destroying the roof and sending shingles raining to the ground far below. The impact nearly caused me to topple over as the roof shook beneath me, and I struggled to remain upright. The ponies had it a lot worse, with their hooves, and the earth pony nearly slid off the roof completely, only being saved at the last moment by Steelwing. Discord sneered down at me, his lips pulling back to reveal yellowed, crooked fangs. You, he growled, his eyes narrowing. It's always you, isn't it? I'm beginning to understand how Celestial feels when dealing with me. I would ask you how you managed to escape, but I'm beyond caring at this point. It's okay, I wasn't going to tell you anyways, I said, sounding more confident than I was. Truthfully, it was taking everything I had to simply not stutter. Why? Discord growled. Why are you constantly against me? Why should we want... Okay, what? Okay. Why? Discord growled. Why are you constantly against me? Why should we should want the same thing and be working together on the same side. I brought you here to help me, but instead you said with the blasted ponies. Why? Why are you ruining my symphony of catastrophe? Look around you, boy, he shouted, leaning back and motioning around at the world that was slowly being torn apart. This is what the ponies deserve. This is poetic justice. Are you so stupid, so blind that you can't understand that? Can you not see? Beside me, Thermal Knickers something glaring at with Discord. I'm gonna be honest here, I said, glancing around at the floating islands. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's a bit too terrifying for my taste. Okay, I'm not a big fan of it. It's a bit too terrifying for my taste. You insolent little bastard, Discord snarled, ripping his paw free from the roof. He lunged for me. Terminal whined loudly, and the unicorn suddenly released a salvo of spellfire. The spell struck Discord's paw, causing him to hiss and flinch back. Parts of his fur now singed. This barely slowed him down. Growling, he swatted the ponies away with a flick of his wrist. They tumbled across the rooftop, several smashing through the stained glass windows in an explosion of colored glass shards. Terminal struck the side of the building and rolled, his limp body sliding down the roof and out into space. Fuck! Lance, Steelwing, yelped, diving off the roof to save him. Ignoring the pegs, his sister gave his paw a shake before reaching for me again. Come to Dizzy? Sai stepped forward and swung his hammer around, only to have Discord flick it effortlessly away. Before Sai had a chance to recover, Discord picked him up and threw him over his shoulder. He flew through the air before landing in a tree far below. No more distractions, Discord sneered, lunging for me. I tried to dodge, but was ultimately too slow. The massive paw wrapped around me, hauling me violently into the air. I gasped as the air was crushed from my lungs. The pressure he was putting on my armor causing it to creak and groan. Alpha! Piracy shouted from somewhere below. Cackling madly, Discord began to shake me like a maraca. The force was enough to send my helmet flying off. I wasn't sure where it went, though, the world spinning as my eyes rolled in my head. My stomach voiced its displeasure at the cessation, and I gagged. The shaking eventually stopped, and a large pair of red eyes suddenly filled my vision. Got you, you little bastard, Discord said gleefully, and unlike last time, I'm not going to stick you in a hole in the ground and hope for the best. Oh no, this time I have power, and I'm going to use it. Oh, but what to do with you, he asked, giving me another shake. Teleport you to the top of a tall frozen mountain? No, that wouldn't be satisfying. Oh, how about I turn you into stone? No, you probably figure out a way to get free. Heaven knows that I did. What to do, he hummed, tugging at his goatee thoughtfully. Slowly his eyes began to drift towards the tower, and he had been wrapped around earlier. His eyes lit up, a large creepy grin spreading across his face. Oh, I know, he cooed, slowly turning back to smirk down at me. Oh yes, this is going to be so much fun. It's kind of funny, too. Last time I turned her friends against her. His grin continued to grow until it threatened to split his head in half. This time, his grip around me tightened, causing me to gasp in pain. This time, I'll turn that object of her affection against her instead. Oh, this is brilliant, he cackled. I can see it now, the despair on her face, as her heart's desire rips her heart from her chest. Delicious. Not gonna happen, I grunt, struggling in his grasp. After a few seconds of wriggling about, I managed to pull my arm free, and with it, the knife Ever had given me, flipping it around quickly, I lunged into Discord's paw. He paused and glanced down at the knife before giving me a deadpan look. Seriously? I stared down at the knife as well. It had barely broken the skin, pulling it free. I stabbed him again, only to be met with the same results. Undeterred, I just started stabbing him a bunch of times. Stop it, he grunted. That's annoying. He gave his paw a quick shake, which caused the knife to fly from my hand. We both watched as it tumbled through the air and disappeared into the gloom below. Discord glanced back up at me and cocked an eyebrow. That was your plan? No, I huffed. That wasn't my plan. That was a distraction. A distraction? He scoffed. You know what? Never mind. I don't care. Just hold still. I need to mess around with your mind for a second. Holding me up, he extended a claw towards my head. I quickly lifted up my hand to protect myself, only to have the claw slice into my gauntlet. I screamed in pain as he pulled his claw free, taking the gauntlet with it in a shower of blood. Wait, Max, did you just lose your arm? Or is it just... Please tell me it's just your gauntlet. And it's... Whoops. Well, that's your fault. Whoops. Well, fuck you, Discord. Whoops. Well, that's what you get for being stupid, Discord test. You can't really blame me for that. You brought that on yourself. Now, for the last time, hold still. I don't want to damage you further before I can sick you on Twilight Narco. But I'm above breaking my toys. But I'm not above breaking my toes. He moved to touch my head again and again. I lifted my bloody hand to stop him, but he knocked it away with his claw. With that, he moved to the claw to my forehead. Remember, he growled as his eyes began to glow a sickly yellow. Make it slow and make her scream. I could do nothing but look at it in horror as he lowered the claw, the glowing tip inching closer and closer to my face, trying to grab it with my hand, only resulting in the appendage slipping through my bloody grasp. I could feel the heat emanating from talon as I pressed against my forehead. A wall of rainbow slammed into us like a freight train, engulfing both Discord and I in a whirlwind of prismatic light. A loud roaring filled my ears, riffling Discord screams as the rainbow tore into him. It swirled around his body and snaring his body like chains. His grip around me tightened to almost unbearable levels before suddenly vanishing. I felt myself plummet through the air. Even as the rainbow blaze around us slowly grew to blinding intensity, I didn't even have a chance to scream before the world was consumed in white light. Fuck, Max. Hopefully the elements helped you out this time, please. White. That's all that the world consisted of. It wasn't even a pure white either. It wasn't tinted light blue in some places, dark blue in others. It wasn't uniform, and it seemed to shift about so that no place was the same hue for more than a few seconds. White specks floated through the air, flickering in and out of existence, seemingly at random. I glanced around in confusion, unsure of how I would end up in this place. There seemed to be nothing here, the place seeming to stretch on forever, yet it also felt like it was closing in on me. I reached out a hand, half expecting to touch a wall or something, only to have it pass through the air effortlessly. The sudden movement caused the air to stir, and I was suddenly aware of a mist that hung about the ground. It was so thick that I had my feet from view when I glanced down, my legs disappearing into the swirling white fog. Glancing down also brought to my attention the fact that I was no longer wearing armor. I was in regular clothing and appeared to be unscathed. My previous injuries and scars were gone, and as I raised my hands, I realized I could see out of my right eye again. I stared down at myself for a good while, opening and closing my right eye experimentally, unsure to it being functional. I stared down at myself for a good while, opening and closing my right eye experimentally, unused to it being functional. Ultimately, I closed it and kept it closed. I had become so used to it being blind that it felt unnatural to see out of it again. It was then that a noise reached my ears through the mist that sounded... Fuck. It was then that a noise reached my ears through the mist that surrounded me, a soft thumping of something that, as I listened, seemed to grow louder, footsteps but unnatural in sound. Click thump, click thump, click thump. Slowly the mist parted, and out of the nothingness a familiar figure loomed. I took a step back, my eyes widening. Nice job, hero, Discord growled as he slowly emerged from the mist. Are you happy with yourself? Are you satisfied with what you've done? With what you've ruined? He still thrashed back and forth, angrily staring at the mist around him. He was a lot smaller than he had been, only standing about 8 feet high now. He even seemed to be shrinking as he drew nearer, but his anger stayed the same. I raised my fist and stood on my ground. Do you know how long I've been planning this? He snarled as he stalked up to me. Do you have any idea how many years of planning, scheming, and preparation I had to go through in order to get everything in place? Then you just come bumbling in and turn everything upside down. Why the hell couldn't you have just done as you were told? He finished with a roar, thrusting his face in front of me. Why couldn't you have been a good pawn just like the rest? I said nothing, glaring up at him in silence. He stayed that way for several seconds, his nose pressed against mine as he growled softly. Suddenly he winced with a grunt of pain. He staggered backwards, clutching at his head. His steam began to waft off his body. No. Wait, not yet. He startled. The steam increased, practically billowing of his limbs as his body began to simmer and morph. His bandages began to quiver and shrink, and I had to step back again as the muscles beneath his fur began to ripple like water. There were several loud cracks as his knees inverted. Scales and feathers began to fall from his body, disappearing into the mist below. He thrashed about, his entire form still shrinking further until he was almost the same height as me. There was one final crack, followed by an eruption of steam that completely hid his body from view. The obstructive cloud began to disperse, and as it did so, I felt my eye widen and my jaw drop. A human now stood before me. His face was wrinkled with age, his gray hair streaked with flecks of white. Even his beard had patches of white throughout it. His eyebrows were bushy, sticking out over a pair of deep blue eyes. He had a dark green turtleneck beneath a long lab coat. A pair of full moon glasses rested upon the tip of his crooked nose. The glass within tinted red. He pushed them up as he composed himself. That's better, he muttered in Discord's voice, reaching up. He brushed off his coat and before glancing around. God damn it, that's better, he muttered in Discord's voice. Reaching up, he brushed off his coat before glancing around at me. Ah, yes, that's right, you. Let's start over, shall we? He turned and with a flourish gave a small bow. My name, he said formally as he straightened up, is Dr. Paul Taylor Reddick, SCD, and with whom do I have the pleasure of speaking? What? I breathed, my eye widening as I stared at this new human in bewilderment. After a moment, he said and shook his head. What? Discord. Did you expect him? I don't believe Max will even help you out, especially since he knows who you are. Come, young man. It's common courtesy, he chatted softly. It's called an introduction. I gave you my name. Now let's hear yours. I continued to eye him for a few more seconds before saying simply, Max. This caused his eye to twitch, his face contorting with rage. Your full name, boy, he barked before adding in calmer tone, if you'd please. At the sudden shout, I had jumped and taken another step back, glaring at him. I huffed softly before answering, Maximilian Zane Williams. There, the human Paul said with a smirk. That wasn't so hard, was it, Mr. Williams? Fuck off, I grunted, flipping him the bird. This caused him to frown, his eyes becoming hooded. So uncivilized, although I guess it's to be expected from you. So are you Paul or Discord? I asked, ignoring the insult. He opened his mouth to reply, only to pause a moment. A thoughtful look crossed his face as he mulled the question over. Yes, he said eventually. I raised an eyebrow. Yes to Paul or yes to Discord? Yes, he said again, this time with a smirk. I started in annoyance before glancing around. Despite Paul showing up and nothing else seemed to have changed, we were still alone, just two humans and lost in an endless sea of swirling mist. White specks floated by, flickering in and out of existence. Where are we? I muttered under my breath. Turning back to Paul, I glared at him as I repeated myself. Where are we? What did you do? Me? He asked incredulously, placing a bony hand on his chest. Oh no, don't blame me, Mr. Williams. This isn't my doing. I'm innocent here. You can thank your friends, the ponies, for our current predicament. As it is with most of the things they do, we're the ones who must now suffer the consequences. I opened my mouth to ask him what he meant, only to blink in surprise when I was suddenly faced with empty space. He had been standing in front of me 1 second. The next, he was gone. What the fuck? I muttered as I glanced around, searching for him. Where the hell did you... I don't understand you, Mr. Williams. I yelped in surprise as he spoke from behind me, whipping around. I saw that he was pacing about slowly, all while giving me a curious look. The fuck? I gasped, placing a hand over my thundering heart. What was I saying? Oh, so I'm guessing this is like an empty space. So, the fuck? I gasped, placing a hand over my thundering heart. You, who have seen the worst side of Equestria firsthand, he continued pushing his glasses up his nose again. I don't understand. You arrive and are plucked from the desert by a pony who not only enjoys forcing humans to fight each other to the death, but also takes sadistic joy in torturing his own kind. 2 weeks you are kept in deplorable conditions, only to be sold like a common household pet. Then after you arrive in Ponyville, you are almost most dead by several different mares, treated as an animal by all who come across you, and and are fought over as a sex object. Then, he continues suddenly off to my right with his back to me. He glances over his shoulder, an eyebrow raised. You are kidnapped and forced to fight within a pit of for the entertainment of ponies, something which nearly cost you your life, I might add. Gee, I wonder whose fault is that I got pulled in here in the first place. I start giving him a pointed look. And despite all these hardships, he said, speaking over me, you don't seem to blame the ponies for these slights against you. He began to slowly circle me, rubbing his hands together. In fact, you consider some of them your friends. You began a relationship with one. You even sided with them over your own species, your own kind. Why? Why are you so loyal to them? What have they done to win your undying loyalty? Do you even know? Nothing, I replied, turning in order to keep him inside of my left eye. I help them because I choose to help them. It's my choice, my decision, done of my own free will. And that's what I don't get, Paul said, suddenly right in my face. He was so close I could see myself reflected in his glasses. I flinched, but didn't back down, glaring back at him. I didn't side with anyone. I'm trying to help both sides, human and pony. They can live together peacefully, helping one another. Impossible, Paul sighed, stepping back and beginning to pace again. Impossible, and that's not a word I throw about casually. What about you, huh? I asked. You seem rather dead set that the ponies are evil and need to die. What the hell did they do to you? Oh no. They aren't evil, he hissed, at least not in the strictest sense of the word. As for what they did to me, that's a long story. We've got time, I deadpanned, spreading my arms and mushing to the swirling mist around us. He paused in his circling... We've got another backstory, please. He paused in his circling and cocked his head to the side. I suppose we do, he muttered before starting to circle again. Very well, Mr. Williams, my story. I guess it starts as most stories do, at the beginning, and with an idea. Skipping over my birth and adolescence, I was a member of a select group of scientists that were working on a top-secret government project during the Cold War. The project was codenamed Project Recall. Its main focus was, at its core, to find a way to control the harness temporal forces. Temporal. Wait, you mean time travel? I asked, cocking an eyebrow. Precisely, he said, pointing at me. We were trying to tap into the power of, as you put it, time travel, so as to be able to use it in the war front. Think of all the good that could have been achieved with such power. History changed, lives saved, outcomes rewritten. We could have stopped Ivan before he was able to start spreading his communistic ways across the world. Stopped his plans before they were able to be put into effect. There wouldn't have been a Cold War. Ivan wouldn't have stood a chance. But time travel, I said with a laugh. I mean, really? Come on, that's a myth. It wasn't our first idea, I assure you, Paul said, suddenly popping into existence several meters away from me. Many of my colleagues ignored the theoretical and focused mainly on improving weapons that were already invented. Bombs, missiles, flamethrowers, machine guns, tanks, napalms. That's where most of the money went. However, somewhere higher up must have liked the idea enough because the project was given the green light just days after it was first suggested. So you were basically wasting taxpayers' money on a project you didn't even think would work. Yes, he said before pausing. Well, not quite. So you did believe that it was possible? Yes, I was one of the few believers in our group, he said. I had to be, considering that I was the head of the project. Besides, it wasn't like we were going in blind. We had the previous project's notes as well, so we had some foundation to build on. Previous project? The fuck, boy? Yes, Project Recall. Okay, fuck. Yes, Project Recall wasn't the U.S. first forays into time travel. Back in the 1940s, a destroyer escort, the USS Eldridge, managed, accidentally, mind you, to travel back in time during one of their tests of an experimental device that would render the ship invisible to enemy devices. Granted, they supposedly only managed to go back about 10 minutes, but the fact alone was the basis for our project. He trailed off, his brow furrowing as he glanced down at his hands. The history lesson is great and all, I said, snapping him out of his daze, but what does it have to do with you trying to bring destruction down on the pony race? He stared at me blankly for a few seconds before a frown crossed his face. I'm getting to that, Mr. Williams. Patience. Project Recall started out strong enough, and we had high hopes for what was to come. However, within a few months, things began to go downhill fast, and we were hit with a setback after setback. Eventually, our backers pulled out our funding, and the project was about to be scrapped. So, you never got the theoretical time machine working? I asked as I rubbed my temples. I could feel a headache coming on as I tried to figure out what Paul was getting with his story. Okay. I sadly can't tell you that because we were never able to actually finish the device. Paul sighed, clasping his hands together. We were close though, but time was not on our side, nor was fate, apparently. He slowly walked up and stood in front of me, staring at me with over his red-tinted glasses. I decided to stay late on one night in order to work on the machine, a last-ditch effort to get it working and save the project. We needed the machine completely operational by morning, or we we were done. I just turned on the generators for a quick test run, but something went wrong. I'm not sure if it was a cross wire, the machine's mechanisms overheating, or some outside influence. But just as I pulled the lever, an explosion consumed the room, and me with it. The shockwave knocked me out, and the world went white. I think I can guess what happened next, I muttered. You'd be correct in your assumption, Ponaded. When I awoke, I was here in Equestria with half my lab along from the ride. It ended up a bed inside of a mountain with me trapped inside. It took 3 days for me to blast myself out using various explosions strewn throughout the wrecked laboratory, but I managed to do it just before my oxygen ran out. Unsure of where I was at the time, I ended up wandering aimlessly through the wilderness for the better part of a day. He paused, his face darkening. That's when she found me. Celestia, I breathed. Yes, Mr. Williams, he growled. Celestia, now I won't go into too much detail about our initial encounter. We did have a bit of a communication barrier, but when we were finally able to understand one another, she was rather curious as to what it was. He paused, running his tongue slowly over his lips before she again said, I should have known that that things wouldn't end well, but in my naivety and exhaustion, I remained blind to the signs. She must have determined that I wasn't a particularly worrisome threat, because she took me back to her palace, the castle of the royal Pony sisters, and is now in castle. What? She must have determined that I wasn't a particularly worrisome threat, because she took me back to her palace, the castle of the royal Pony sisters, and what is now the Everfree Forest, he continued. It was there that everything went to hell in a handbasket. Don't get me wrong, Celestia was kind enough, as was her sister, when she introduced us, but she didn't treat me as an equal. She instead treated me more like an exotic pet than a sentient creature. Something that she could show off to the nobles to take them and awe. She acted more like a teenager whose parents had just bought her a new puppy than a princess dealing with a new species. 'Cause maybe she was a teenager at the time. 'Cause, you know, the immortal as fuck. And that's what caused you to go crazy? I asked incredulously. No, it wasn't, Paul huffed before glaring at me. And don't call me crazy. No, Celestia treating me like a pet wasn't the problem, although it was a bit of an annoyance. No, the real problem, the first domino falling, came from one of the nobles. They were interested in me as well, but not in the same way as Celestia. One of the younger ones, a bull-headed unicorn whose name I have chosen to forget, decided that it would be good sport to pit himself against said unknown creature in order to prove his worth. Unprovoked, he attacked me, and I defended myself, and I did so a bit too well. It seems as I ended up killing the unicorn. This, of course, caused Celestia to freak out. My wounds had barely begun to scab over when she had me locked in the dungeons. I tried to explain the situation to her. I tried to make her see that what happened had been an accident, but she wouldn't listen. I was too chaotic for her. He rolled his eyes. I was too chaotic when her own ponies could get away with murder, with nothing more than a slap on the wrist. They had their two eloquent goddesses to protect them from reprisal. I don't even know what the fuck to say to that word. I had no one. So what happened? Well, Celestia came to the narrow-minded conclusion that my chaotic tendencies, he made air quotes with his fingers, was due to what I was. So she decided in order for me to become more civilized, she needed to show me the power of harmony. Just take a second to think about that, he laughed, though there was no joy in it. One of her ponies attacks me, and I'm the one that's in the wrong. Unacceptable. I tried to talk her out of it, but she made up her mind. I told her I refused, but she didn't listen. In the middle of the night, when everyone else was asleep and unaware of what was going on, she had a little pet star swirl cast a spell on me that was supposed to turn me into a pony to bring me into harmony. Wait, I said slowly, my narrating. Supposed to? It didn't work, Paul said with a lopsided grin. Rather, I should say that it didn't work as intended. Star Swirl managed to turn me into a pony, yes, but the transformation only lasted about 10 minutes. So then I suddenly and painfully turned back into a human. At the time, although I was angry and in pain, I was also thankful. I was still human. I was still me. I had somehow denied Celestia her xenophobic plan. I had thought it was over. I was wrong, he showed off, his eyes becoming unfocused as he gazed off into the distance. I watched him curiously for a few seconds before rolling my eyes. The old geezer appeared to be lost in the past. Opening my mouth to shout at him and snap him out of gaze, the words had just started to form when, with a flicker of something large appeared in front of me. I didn't get a good look at it. It was there for but a second before disappearing again, but What I saw was enough to cause me to jump. It was huge, standing so much taller than I was that it particularly filled my vision as it loomed over me. A pair of wings spread wide. It was out of focus, almost like it wasn't really there. Its body flicked and distorted, reminding me of an old television whose antennas were crooked. It flicked in and out of sight for a brief moment before it disappeared completely. I placed a hand on my chest, my heart threatening to break out of my ribs at any second, spinning in a small circle. I tried to find any trace of the presence, but there was nothing. Not even the mist appeared to have been disturbed. Breathing heavily, I turned my attention back to Paul, who was eyeing me expectantly. What? I asked. I asked you a question, Mr. Williams. Is usually considered courteous to answer. He said, tisking softly. Sorry, I was distracted. Use these days, he said, shaking his head. Very well, I shall repeat myself. You, much like myself, probably came to this world thinking that magic was fake, right? That's one of the bigger differences between Earth and Equestria, correct? The presence of magic. I nodded dumbly and grinned. Exactly, but what if I told you that wasn't true? Earth, despite what we might think, does indeed have magic. He raised his hands, sickly yellow sparks dancing between his bony fingers. Chaos magic. I gave him a critical look before laughing. I'd say dementia seems to have set in, Gramps. But it's true, Paul said, lowering his hands and beginning to pace back and forth. Think about it. Here in Equestria, there's harmonious magic, right? Pegasi control the weather, and Earth ponies control the plants. Ponies help convert winter into spring, and so on and so forth. The princesses even move the sun and moon across the skies. I scoffed at that, but he ignored me. With that in mind, where's the one place that is not under the control of ponies? The one place that is left to its own devices? It took me a second to realize what he was talking about. The Everfree Forest? Oh god, let's see. Paul, whoever the fuck you are, just stop fucking around with the ponies. Damn. Yes, he said, nodding happily. Very good, Mr. Williams. Everfree Forest, a place that is filled with chaos magic. By yours truly, I might add. Now, what happens in Everfree? Plants thrive without any pony intervention, animals tend to themselves, and the weather is unpredictable. Doesn't that sound oddly familiar? He asked, giving me a pony look. Doesn't that sound remarkably like Earth? And out of coincidence doesn't mean that there's magic on Earth, I huffed, crossing my arms. Besides, if there was indeed chaos magic on Earth, why don't we have timberwolves, manticores, hydras, and other weird creatures running about? Paul smirked. Because Earth lacks one basic thing those creatures need in order to exist. Logic? Harmonious magic, Paul said. There's none on Earth, but here it's abundant. Harmonious magic mixed with chaos magic can lead to interesting results. He motioned back and forth between us. You and I are prime examples of this. My eye narrowed. What are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about, he said with a smirk. As I said, I was wrong when I said that Star Soul's spell didn't work. It did, in fact, work, just not as intended. It didn't turn me into a pony, it turned me into something else entirely. A psychopath? A god, he cried, arms thrown out wide. It didn't show right away. Somehow Luna managed to convince Celestia to let me go. I spent the next few days hiding from her, sleeping during the day and hanging around Luna during the night. She seemed to sympathize with my plight of not being liked, and I used this to my advantage. Things returned to normal, or as normal as things could be in a magical world full of talking ponies, and I began working on trying to figure out how to get back home. Then it happened. I woke up to find that my left hand had morphed into an eagle-like claw. Celestia was elated to find out, believing that the reason Star Soul's spell hadn't worked was because I wasn't meant to be a pony, but a griffin instead. She was wrong. I cornered Star Soul and tried to force her to stop the spell, but there was nothing she could do. There was no reversing it. The effects were permanent. Over the course of the next few days, my body slowly, painfully, excruciatingly transformed into an abomination. In the end, the spell was successful. It took my humanity from me. Sister robbed me of my humanity, and with that, I vowed to get revenge. And your revenge? Right, I'm gonna take a rest. Okay. I'm just glad this isn't like a long story like Lyra's backstory, because goddamn. I'm glad Max is like one doing shit. And your revenge? She took my humanity from me. I would take her precious order and harmony from her, Paul said grimly. But first, I had a lot of preparation to do. Before the transformation claimed me completely, I took some of my blood, my DNA, using it. I planned to create humanity in Equestria, with a little help from a unicorn friend I had made over the course of my time here. With her help, I began the process of creating a new human race. Unfortunately, my blood was not enough. The spell had done its work too well. My human DNA had been corrupted. Luckily, I was able to work around that problem. I just had to combine several other species' DNA as well. Diamond dogs, minotaurs, wolves, etc. It took multiple tries. Eventually, I was able to recreate humanity. My eyes widened in shock as my mind processed what you were saying. You made the Equestrian humans? Indeed, they are my children, he nodded. Created by me, using the various machines in the laboratory that came with me. Created in order to take control of the ponies when the time was right. I frowned, my brow furrowing. The Christian humans were meant to control the ponies. We dominate equines back on Earth, Paul said. I would show Celestia who was in control when humanity stood triumphant over her precious little ponies. Unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan. The Christian humans were too stupid. I jumped the gun, he said with a grimace. I got too eager, too ambitious. The humans were still developing, still growing, yet I decided to prematurely start my revenge. I hit Star Swirl first, the cause of my transformation. Oh, I didn't kill her. Oh no, but I did take something special from her. Oh yes, just to make sure she suffered as I did. I noticed slowly, only to pause, a confused look crossing my face. Wait, she? I thought Star Swirl was male. For some reason, this seemed to amuse Paul. You and everyone else when I was done with her. Wait, what? You and everyone else when I was done with her, he chuckled, his glasses flashing. A pity, too. She was so looking forward to being a mother. I wanted to deny that I enjoyed the look of despair on her face, but she wasn't the instigator of all this. Celestia was. I did my best to make her life a living hell, spreading chaos as far and wide as I could. Unfortunately, before I could finish exacting my revenge, she and her sister managed to thwart me and imprison me in my stony prison. I remained there for over 1,000 years until I managed to escape. A couple of years ago, the rest is, as they say, history. He slipped his hands into his coat pocket as he finished, looking at me expectantly. I groaned and rubbed my head. Okay, let's say for 1 second that I did believe you. Why is that Celestia and Luna don't remember you? They were shocked to learn that I was intelligent. That was a little bit of genius on my part, Paul said. It seems that my transformation gave me an uncanny control over mental magic. I can make ponies turn on each other, give up their morals and ideals, and even, should enough power be used, cause them to forget certain things. One massive spell that nearly killed me later, and Paul T. Riddick, the human, was lost. Only discord remained. So all of this was to get revenge on Celestia, I asked. Creating humans, bringing me and others here to this world, and staging this revolution. All of this was to get revenge on Celestia, to make humans the dominant species on this planet, he nodded. That's insane. I'm not insane, he screamed suddenly, causing me to jump. Don't you dare judge me. You haven't experienced what I have. You don't know what I went through. Sickly yellow sparks danced up and down his body, and his eyes flashed. I am not insane, he said slowly, taking deep breaths as he tried to calm himself. Sorry, he said in a much calmer voice. I sometimes get a little riled up. The human mind isn't designed to last over a millennium. It slips. Okay, the human mind isn't designed to last over a millennium. It slips occasionally. Silence swelled of the unnatural world, the mist drifting lazily past. We stared at each other as my brain tried to make sense of everything he had just told me. It all didn't make any sense, and yet at the same time, I somehow knew he was telling the truth. Oh, fuck. Rubbing on my closed eye, I said heavily. So, what do we do now? I asked softly. Do, Mr. Williams? Paul asked, clasping his hands behind his back. Why, it's simple. We wait. He gave him a blank look. Wait for what, exactly? Okay, Max. I feel bad for you because you're stuck with a person that you don't really like. And who, to be honest, freaking tried to kill your girlfriend. To start with that fact. I don't know, he said with a happy laugh, throwing his hands into the air. I don't know about you, but I have time to spare. You may have ruined my plans this time, but I, unlike you, appear to have all the time in the world to think of another. So you can spend this time doing whatever you want. I'm going to get a head start on my plotting. And what makes you think you're going to get another chance? I asked, raising an eyebrow. I'm over 1,000 years old, Mr. Williams, he said with a smirk. I've been turned to stone 3 times. I highly doubt I'm going to die anytime soon. Anytime soon. Maybe not from natural causes, I said, but I don't think Celestia will allow you to remain a threat, especially after what you've done here today. Paul laughed, throwing back his head and cackling madly. His glasses flashed again, turning his eyes red for a brief second. Celestia won't kill me, he wheezed, resting his hands on his knees as he caught his breath. It's not in her nature. Even when something like me is a threat to her pony, she prefers non-lethal tactics, banishment to the moon, imprisonment in Tartarus, frozen in ice, or imprisoned in stone. Even when the changelings had invaded Canterlot, she didn't seek violence on their race. It's her nature to be compassionate, and it's her biggest weakness. Even after all I've done her, she won't kill me. I can almost guarantee it. I'd be willing to bet she just seals me in stone again. You really think she's gonna be that naive? Pax experience says yes, he smirked. Old age won't kill me, and neither will Celestia or the Lemons of Harmony. Face it, Mr. Williams, it's just a matter of time before I get another chance. His smile faded and his face darkened, and next time you won't be there to fuck everything up. And if I decided to try and stop you here and now, I asked. This just causes him to laugh again. What are you planning on doing, Mr. Williams? Strangle me to death? There's nothing here but you and I. No, there's no way that you can kill me. Sorry, but it's not going to happen. A blinding flash of light interrupted him, and we both had to shield our eyes. A gust of wind suddenly whipped around us, stirring the mist into a veritable a veritable whirlwind. A loud chiming noise echoed around us, followed by a metallic thunk. The light began to fade, and we lowered our hands, blinking tears from our eyes. There, with its head embedded into the ground between us, was an axe. The metal head glinted as the little flecks of white light popped and sparkled around it. The mist, disturbed by whatever forces had brought it here, began to slowly consolidate around it once more. Max, I'm hoping that's your axe. I am hoping that is your axe. Both Paul and I stared at the axe with wide eyes before slowly glancing up at each other, and neither of us moved, each holding our breath. Then, as one, we both dove for the axe. I am hoping that's Max's axe. I am hoping that's Max's axe. Time to bury that hatchet right into that motherfucker's gut. Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching, listening. Thank you guys do, and I'll see you guys in the next chapter. Goodbye.
100,000 stories